today is a brute force day. We're not focusing on pretty. Well, maybe this looks kind of pretty, but mostly not pretty. We've got work to do. What's up, everyone? My name's Ollie, and welcome to BarelyBuilding. Last episode, we sent this place nuclear, and now we're sitting on a dangerous amount of waste just waiting to be processed. So today's mission is simple. Automate everything before this place completely melts my save file. Quick fly by the community hub as always, and shout out to my OGs up top, and a bunch of new names on wall 2.0. If you want to be on the YouTube sub wall, just sub and comment I subbed. YouTube doesn't always show me new subs, so that's the easiest way to get you in here. Right, enough yapping. This waste barrel is completely empty right now, but by the end of today, we'll completely fill this place with machines. So to give you an idea of the plan, we're going to copy this circle floor that we've got, place everything we want to process, place another floor, place more machines, rinse and repeat. And as we work up, we're going to leave these gaps in between the circle here. If you ever do build in a circle, I'd highly recommend doing that. It makes placing machinery down significantly easier, as you can use them to line up onto the snapping points of each of these beams. We'll come back later and we'll fill it in. But as we said, today we're brute forcing. Floor 1, we're starting with one of the larger production lines we need, which is concrete. We need an absolute boatload, so we're using the wet concrete recipe. All the water was already prepped, so it was easy to plumb all this in and route all the limestone up from the trains. And yeah, I'm making the less than wise decision to build this place as if we already have Mark 6 belts. We'll finish phase 4 next, so it's fine. Every factory in this playthrough has its own power plant, so we're not instantly dealing with 2500 waste. So yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. So we can keep processing what we can fit in here. We've got some steel ingots and iron ingots being made here using the pure iron recipe and the solid steel ingot recipe. We have some caterium being made over here, again with the pure recipe, and a small aluminium line here for the aluminium ingots that we need. We're using sloppy alumina for the solution, and we're using the standard recipe for the aluminium scrap. As this build, we're using no oil whatsoever, which is on purpose. You're going to have to subscribe to find out why. And I wanted to sketch out what the center is going to look like here. And we went with this kind of glass design with some nice white pillars and some lights. The plan is to have an elevator in the center here that can go between all of the floors, but we'll put that in later. And that completes floor 1. I threw in some constructors for iron plates, just using the standard recipe. Steel beams and steel pipes we're going to process here. We have our quick wire assemblers over here, and then I use this last little bit of space just to make our AI limiters, as nothing else would really fit here, so we're just making good use of the space. Something I do when I'm doing large scale builds, especially if I'm going to be away for a little while and then coming back, is leave myself little signs all over the place. So this is everything we need to upgrade to Mark 6 belts when we get there. I'm going to do this all over the build. I've done this all over the place because if you're like me, my memory is terrible. It's just a reminder for when we finally come back to do this. We know exactly what we need to upgrade to Mark 6. Outside, we've got this plutonium production diagram that we're using to follow along and tick off as we go. And floor 1 makes a really decent dent. Floor 2 is mostly copper processing. 23 refineries using the pure copper ingot recipe, which feeds into copper sheets, which is using the steamed copper sheet recipe. Aluminium sheets, which is just using the standard recipe. Some wire over here and a bunch of constructors. And then these assemblers can combine the aluminium sheets and the copper sheet to make the heat sinks that we're going to need a bit later on in the build. Good progress. Let's get all that ticked off and move on to the next bits. Floor 3. Things start to get a little bit trickier. We need a fleet of unpackages here to unpackage our nitrogen gas, which is going to get mixed with some water and iron plates to make our nitric acid. And my design plan is whenever we move things up the build, we're going to do it in front of this glass here, which is going to make things look really cool from inside there when we're moving around the base. We can move up our wire and our steel pipes to make stators and get that prepped over here, ready to make electromagnetic control rods by combining those with our AI limiters, ready for the last stage of production. Next to that, we're bringing up the last of our limestone, and we're combining that with our quartz using the cheap silica recipe, which gives us our silica for later, but we can park all that for now as we need to process the next floor. Upstairs is stupid plan Mark 3. Non-fissile uranium makes a 1-to-1 water byproduct for the water input for sulfuric acid. We're going to take that byproduct and we're going to feed it in to make our sulfuric acid. Please don't do this. I'm sure this is going to backfire. We've got a bunch of assemblers prepped here for encased plutonium cells, just using the standard recipe. The concrete's already up here, but we need to make the pellets before this can run. And this, don't judge this. We'll come back to this in a minute. It'll all make sense. And now finally, it's particle accelerators. And if we overclock the non-fissile uranium to 200% in the blender, we can make a 1-to-1 ratio for blender to particle accelerator, which means we can make these in cool little cells going around the outside of the ring. And I can't help it. The first particle accelerators of the playthrough need to be treated as such. Just look how cool these things are. So let's jazz this up a little bit. Yeah, this looks absolutely incredible. I cannot wait to see this thing running. We need 24 particle accelerators. Each floor can fit 12. So bear with me while I do all of that all over again. Both floors are in. It's all belted together as neatly as I could possibly manage. Uranium waste is going to feed in on this belt. It will feed down and split between the particle accelerator and the blender. So now all that's left to do is to test this. We're up to 500,000 odd uranium waste here. So let's belt in this temporary line of uranium waste. All I have to do is connect these two belts, and together we can watch the first particle accelerator of the playthrough come to life. Now that the pellets are done, these feed back downstairs into the assemblers, and I purposefully did it this way. Waste is going to revive at this place via drone onto the roof, so having the uranium machines themselves at the top seemed to make sense. And because I'm a genius planner and not the luckiest idiot on the planet, our steel beams, our heat sinks, and our electromagnetic control rods are all right here, perfectly lined up to move up the build. And this is one of the stranger things I've ever done with manufacturers, to be honest. But we can come back and decorate this later. What we've done to save space is this elevator is just at a standard height. And at the same point, we've ran this elevator down and chucked a splitter on it so that this all links up nicely. It just means we can get these manufacturers in a bit closer together and not have to spread this over 2 floors. For now, it works. And it's done. With a simple connection of this belt to this awesome sink, plutonium fuel rods are officially automated. And that was brutal. That took every ounce of willpower I had not to get distracted with decorating. So I let this run for a little bit and noticed we have a problem. This line right here, it's supposed to be running 350 uranium waste per minute consistently, and it's not. Which means some of these nuclear reactors are offline. This belt here is supposed to be full of uranium fuel rods. We should be making 50.4 fuel rods, and we're making 0. And then it hit me. Last episode, we cleared out the power plant from down here that we were using to make the fuel rods originally before switching over to nuclear. And that had these fuel lines running across the ocean to the power plant. Those fuel rods carried power that was used to produce plastic and rubber over at this little mini factory, which has been offline for hours, silently starving the uranium plant of plastic and rubber. This could have been an absolute disaster. So with that powered back on, I flooded the system with some plastic and some rubber from our stores. Thankfully, I caught it just in time, and uranium fuel rods are back online. Crisis averted. Barely. So now that the panic is over, we can actually wrap this up. Next time, we're going to set up the control room at the top of the waste can. And who knows, maybe we'll swap the rest of the world over to nuclear while we're at it. If you want to appear up in the community room, drop a sub and comment to let me know. Or if you're just enjoying the stay and you find yourself coming back. Until then, guys, I am off to go cry in a corner, and I will see you in the next one.